Days to heavy rains and storms at night. The season can be unpredictable. Fortunately, Tyler Lyer from Aero Service Team is here to help with some of the things that we can be focusing on right now to get ourselves ready. Good morning, Tyler. Thank you for being here. You know, it has not been, we've got some years where there's a lot of snow and then we worry about runoff and things like that as far as our sump pumps, and that's what we're going to start out with this morning. But really, it's not so much what's above the ground. It can be an underground thing too. So having your sump pump ready to go at this time of year is really important.
Right. So spring's here, and we didn't have much of a winter. So we haven't got into the real rainy season yet. But yes, understanding the functions of what's here and what's important and what to look for. Obviously, this is going to be into a pit, right? And it's usually going to be plastic with pipes coming into it so that water drain tile can flow into there. Well, we want to make sure that pit's clear, there isn't a bunch of sediment in there. Dirt.
And I think that's one of the things that people probably forget. They're worried about the pump, and we're going to talk about that, but the pit itself needs to be functioning.
I mean, eventually soil and things are going to come through that drain tile. It's going to get in the bottom of that. That's going to come up and plug our screen on the bottom here. You can see there's screws that can come off the bottom, so this can be taken out. Make sure the impeller that's going to bring the water out is clean and clear. Look for corrosion on these pumps. So a lot of them are metal. This one in particular is plastic. They start to get rusty. If it looks questionable, I would say for the amount of damage it can cause, probably just replace it.
I was going to ask you that. Now, you can do a visual inspection of your pump, but the life of a pump, what should someone expect? Because you don't want to find out that your pump doesn't function, even though it looks good. What's the average life of a pump like this?
Really, if it's working hard, it really can be limited to a couple years.
Okay.
Some of them can last a lot longer than that, depending on how often and what type of environment you're living in, if you're in a low-lying area with a lot of water
and
or not.
What kind of a retail price are we talking here?
Anywhere between $100 to $300.
Cheap insurance, isn't it?
Yeah, compared to what your deductible is.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay.
So you've got a few functions to it, right? We've got a float switch. This is something when you get in the spring, you're probably going to want to take a 5-gallon pail of water, fill the pit up once it's cleaned, get this up. This will trigger it to turn on once it gets to this level. Okay. Then we've got our discharger. You're normally going to have a check valve right here. The check valve is going to stop that water from flowing back down.
Correct.
Otherwise, your pump's going to work a lot harder.
because you are pumping it up to get it out.
Vertical rise up and out, right? So this is our discharge. When we check this, we're going to want to have somebody outside making sure that discharge outside is clear as well, and we're getting that water away from the house. And it's not just coming right out the side. You get an extension on and get it away.
Exactly.
And not towards the neighbor, probably towards the street, right?
Unless you don't get along with that neighbor. No, I'm kidding. No, but I want to talk about this too, because you want to make sure that this has clearance to go too. People that have some pumps and deal with these on an annual basis, they know that. But if this is your first go around with it, you want to make sure that this doesn't hit the side of the pit.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, depending on where that pump's sitting inside there, this will swing up, and many times we'll come into a house, the basement's flooded. We think the pump's out, we just go shake the pump, and here this pops up, and all of a sudden water's going down.
And the other thing, it doesn't necessarily, there are pumps that don't need this kind of a horizontal space because they have the float that actually goes vertically.
I actually like the vertical ones better. This is just what I had at the office and thought I'd grab it.
But it is very much an option that people have.
Yep, exactly. So that's kind of the basics on the pump. And also the other thing that needs to be touched on that's important is power. You want to have a dedicated circuit or something that's not going to have a GFI on it, because the GFI can get hot and then it'll trip out when this pump's working. So you got to make sure the power supply is adequate for these pumps. Okay.
Now, before we're down to about a minute and a half, this is a situation we've talked about with Aero Service Team before, but this is something that in the fall, if you weren't careful in disconnecting the hose, you may run into trouble this spring.
Exactly. It's like we've done this segment before.
Well, but it's
you
got
to figure it out. So you can see a small split in the line back here. Basically, what happens is this is a exterior height.
This is the outside of your house.
This is sitting inside the home. This is sitting outside the home. Well, we had a hose on here. It froze, pushed back, and broke. Well, our valve is way in the back here. So until we actually go turn this on in the spring to wash a car or run the sprinkler, nothing's leaking. So nobody has any clue that's going on. And you can go turn this on, put a short length of hose on there, put your thumb on there, and if that pressure isn't constant and lets off, well, you know now we've got it shooting down inside the house.
So you're out there washing your car on the outside, while the inside you're washing your carpet. Aero Service Team, always great information. You guys are open to questions. You'll help anybody out that wants to give you a holler. How do we contact you?
You can contact us at 223-9249 or get us at aeroserviceteam.com. and contact our appointment center and set something up.
Sounds great, Tyler. Always great information. We appreciate you coming in.
Thank you, Wayne.
All right.